Alright, since I have this secondary account now, which I'm willing to show my trades on, I figured that I would do some sort of challenge where I start at $100 and see how fast I can 10x my account. Now, I'm not going to try and speed run this. I'm going to take my time. I'm going to be patient and, trade how I normally trade and just see how long it takes me to grow a small account. So until I can grow this to $1,000, I'll be trading on this account in my videos. What have we got here? What is our environment? Well, Bitcoin right now is in a range after getting this dump that brought us down to the lows of the much larger range. The last time I talked about this, I talked about the market structure that we formed on the way down, how we just got this one massive move to the downside, and the last market structure point on any time frame that could give us a bullish break is all the way up here. So it is pretty far away, and right now Bitcoin is just trading internally in between these two market structure points, and it is very clearly ranging. And I would still like for us to take out the low at some point to make a lower high that is lower than this one over here. So let's mark out the internal structure of this range. Starting from this high, we had a downtrend clearly, put in this lower high here before the lower low, and then we got a bullish break. So following the structure from the high, we've just gotten a bullish break, and we could potentially be looking for a higher low somewhere. And we did just get an internal bullish break from this high, which when you're retracing after breaking structure, this is a lot of times what I look for to mark out the higher low in the larger trend. And this market structure break did take place inside of an area that I would call relevant. We had this little range here that we formed before we got the move up to break structure, so I would consider this an area of demand. And we just got that 30-minute close. Did we close above the high? We did. So it was looking like we might SFP this high on the 30-minute time frame, but we were just able to get a move up above there right before it closed. So it is a bullish break on every time frame from at least the 1 hour down, the 2 hour as well, even the 3 hour closed and the 4 hour. So, yep, this is a bullish break on all time frames. I wouldn't even really call this 1 hour structure because this is too tight, but, it's still nice to know that we closed above the high on the 1 hour as well. But, clearly the time frames where it matters, we got the bullish break. So I could enter along right here, put my invalidation down below that low, because I'm assuming it is the higher low in the larger trend now, and I could target this high all the way up here. But that does not give a great risk reward. It's only a 1.88, so I'd risk $1 to make $1.88. So I may look to refine this entry a little bit. And ideally, I would want price to continue getting a move up from here, maybe, take a little bit of time, and then as we start retracing, do so with some, market structure, a clear downtrend. And if this happens, then I would look for a bullish break and look to enter on that. So that could give me a much better risk reward. That is my plan right now. And there are a few areas of interest that I can mark out. So first, I would look at this area because this is the last order block before we came up to break structure. And if you go to the lower time frames, you can even call this like a little range before we got the move up to break structure. So I'd move this box up to that high. And we also have this 5-minute block down at the low. It was a quick move down before a quick move back up, and eventually we came up to break structure after that. So these are two areas that I would pay attention to. That's what I'd be looking for, and I'll check back in hopefully when that happens. Alright, so I just entered this long. It wasn't the best setup, wasn't exactly what I was looking for. I would have liked it if price came higher up. We got a weak break here, which is the only thing making me not feel super great about this. But we did get a move into demand and then a bullish break following it of the, internal structure from this high. So, I was willing to enter this. The only issue is I like to hit my first TP at this high. This is the first logical spot to take a TP since you're betting on a higher high being put in here in this structure. So the problem with that is it is not possible due to the risk reward. I'm not going to take profit on a 0.5% risk reward. I'm risking $1 to be in profit 50 cents. So right now I am targeting this area of supply up here. This area where price had a little move to the upside before continuing the dump. I will probably TP 1/3 of the trade here, try and lock in about 0.5% with this. So yeah, right now my invalidation is right below this higher low. And, again, the reason I'm entering this is because there's potential for it to be a higher low in the larger structure. In this still internal but still more relevant structure, it has the potential to be a higher low, or I guess this has the potential to be a higher low, and then this might just be a chance at an entry. Once I TP here, my next target is going to be this high up here, and I'll probably front run it a little bit. Maybe this high right here looks like a good spot to TP, it's close enough. So it is Friday morning. I'll quickly run through what has happened since the last recording and then go over my plans as of right now. So last night I took this long. Clearly this got stopped out. I'm not surprised because number one, it was a weak break to begin with, and then we got a weak break of the internal structure after getting a move into this area of demand, which was very close to price. It wasn't a far move to get to there, so I'm not really surprised this one didn't work out. In hindsight, maybe I should have taken a 0.5 risk instead of a 1% risk, but it is what it is. And from there, my next area of interest was this lower demand zone. So we immediately got a wick into there, and we took out the low again. So we started forming some market structure as we entered this demand zone up until like this point. I probably stayed up until like 2 o'clock, 2:30. I was watching this. And yeah, it was just happening too slow and I wanted to go to bed. So I just ended up missing out on this trade. But we did eventually get that bullish break following a move into the demand zone. And this would have been a decent trade. This break actually did produce a move up to that area of supply that I marked out. Yeah, so this could have been a decent trade, 2-1. Not great. And there was this fake out here, but eventually did give us a move up to that area. And yeah, could have been a somewhat decent trade, but I missed it. And so now let's take a look at what has happened following market structure. So in the internal structure from this high, we know we got a bullish break here. And from there, it was a very weak break, not a lot of follow through to the upside. I would have wanted to see a move higher up, but from there, we put in a higher low and then a higher high. But this higher high was an SFP of this market structure point. So an SFP of this guy would mean that the low that produced the move up to the SFP would be a weak low. So we would expect that low to be taken out, and it was. We have flipped this structure from this high back to bearish, and we still could potentially look for a bullish market structure break to mark the higher low. Following this structure, we know that price can retrace all the way back down to this low right now and still remain bullish because, the market structure looks like this. So that being said, if we flip this market structure back to bullish now, then I would be interested in longs. And right now, on the 15-minute, we did get this move back to the upside. So if we come back down towards the low, I would consider this a lower high than a lower low. So we could get the bullish break right here. So I have a few ideas of how I could trade this. Number one, I could wait for us to put in another lower low and then break market structure and then maybe look to get in on a retest. That would probably give me the best risk reward if I'm waiting for the bullish break. And idea number two would be more risky. It would be trading this as an SFP if we got an SFP of this low, and maybe just taking a 0.5 risk instead of a 1% risk, but still having much better risk reward than if I waited for the break. And the reason I'd be willing to trade it as an SFP and maybe take the higher risk trade if things continue to look good is, number one, we're at the value area below the range. So based on the range, it's at a spot that makes sense to look for longs. Also, as we've been putting in lower lows here, we've seen divergences on market cipher with momentum and money flow here. Money flow continuing to put in higher lows as the price is putting in lower lows. So because of that, if we SFP this low again, I think there is a better chance that it ends up producing a good trade. I will set an alert at this low because that is my area of interest right now. And we could also look back in time and see if there's anything worth marking out. And I might see something here. And yeah, I'd say this area right here could potentially be a zone of demand. It was a little range that we formed before a significant move to the upside. Now, this little retracement here would have been the better option because it was the last consolidation before we actually came up to break structure. And this also produced an aggressive move up, more aggressive than this move up. So this would have been the better zone of demand, but it has already been tagged. And you can see that area produced a very good trade, actually. But, I could still consider that lower area a zone of demand. Not that it matters too much because I'm more focused on the market structure, but, it could give us an area to look at if we put in a lower low here. All right, it is Saturday night, and I just took another trade, and this is my position right here. It was a scalp trade. It's not the trade I've been looking for. So far, not much has happened this weekend. We've just pretty much been trading sideways, not a whole lot of action. But I just took this SFP trade on the 30-minute time frame. And like I said, this is just a scalp trade. It's nothing that I have a ridiculous target for, although if I can hold it for higher, that'd be good. But the reason I took this trade is because we had an SFP after we had another SFP. So this could potentially be a Wyckoff Model 1. And so I just traded this SFP, and I'm targeting the top of this potential model. I will take out a good portion of the trade up here. This, like I said, is not a position that I'm necessarily looking to hold for a higher low in the market structure, although if it happens, that'd be cool. Although I think one more crack at this low would, be better because we could have a larger Wyckoff model here if we come down to take out the low again. But if I'm looking for a higher low to be put in this market structure, it doesn't hurt to take a scalp long and just lock in the trade or de-risk it as soon as possible and then, just take profits along the way. And if it ends up being the higher low, or if this ends up being the higher low and this ends up being the trade that, produces the move up, great. If not, then okay, well, you took a chance on it. So that is the trade that I am in right now, and I have already de-risked it. I closed out half the trade right about here, so, this was less than a 1-to-1 risk reward. It was a 0.11% move to the downside. So, yeah, a little bit less than a 1-to-1. So, right now I've de-risked the trade. I still have my stop loss down below this low, but I was originally with this trade risking 75 cents. I didn't take a whole 1% risk. I went with a 0.75% risk just because it was a scalp trade. So I was originally risking 75 cents. Now I'm risking 32 cents, and I have 15 cents of realized profit. So really I'm only risking 15 cents. And I significantly de-risked this once price failed to take out this high on the low time frames. We had a little uptrend here, and we pushed for this high again and then started rejecting, and I wasn't loving the way things were looking. We even had a 1-minute divergence here. So just decided to take profits early. I originally had a TP set up at this high, but, I saw something that I didn't necessarily like, so I just decided to TP earlier. And since it was a scalp trade, I feel more inclined to do things like that. But I do still think that there's a chance we at least get a move up to this high, and there is potential that this Wyckoff is also for a bigger reason, and the reason could be to produce a move up to this internal market structure point and begin an uptrend. So it is now Sunday morning, almost Sunday afternoon, and my trade has hit my next few TPs. So I woke up this morning pretty early, around, when was it, 7 o'clock, something like that. And I saw that my second TP had been hit. Now remember my first one I took somewhere down here, and this was just to de-risk my trade. I left my stop loss down below this low, but once I hit this TP up here, I put my stop loss to my entry. So, yep, I hit my TP here. I went back to bed, and when I woke up again, I saw that we had put in another higher high. And we formed some market structure here as we came up to break the last lower high in this very internal downtrend. We put in a higher low and then a higher high. and I did take some more profits up in this area. So right now I have 85 cents locked in, another about $1 in unrealized profit. And if my stop loss gets hit right now, I should lock in another about 26 cents. So I've got over 1% locked in so far for this trade. And my next target would be this high over here. All right, it is Monday now, and I have taken a few more trades, but this has been some really boring price action, not gonna lie. You know, we've been in this range for a really long time. Not a whole lot of good price action in here, but I do want to go through the trades I've taken and my next plans. So since the last update, this long trade did get stopped out. I got wicked right here. Like I said, I put my stop loss a little bit below that low. That got wicked out. And from there, you know, this was an SFP at that low, but we did eventually come down to break structure here. And I did take a little scalp trade here that ended up being a loss. This was like a 1 minute supply chain that I saw. Basically, we were breaking 1 minute structure, coming back up to test supply, and then dumping again. So, yeah, I took a trade betting that that would happen again. I kind of thought we were going to come down to take out this low, but that one ended up getting stopped out, and we came for that low later. So this short trade I entered after we broke structure. We came back up to test an area of supply where we had 3 5-minute blue candles, this last little retracement before we came down to break structure. We got a nice reaction off that level, and on these small time frames, we did actually break structure following that test into supply. We had, you know, some very tight but still kind of structure. On the 2 minute, that probably would be better structure, but we came down to SFP, that higher low originally, and then it wasn't until over here that we actually got a candle close below that low. So this is where I entered, and I only ended up locking in a little bit of profits with that one. It was about 42 cents. I think I risked 0.5 on this, so yeah, I locked in about 0.4. Unfortunately, I did have a TP set a little bit lower that never got hit. I was up a decent amount of profits with this one, but yeah, my TP just got front ran. And then the last trade I took was just this SFP of the internal structure from this high. This was another scalp trade where I only risked 0.5. But yeah, I saw that we got a nice reaction after we took out the low. We did see some trades getting stopped out here. It wasn't a massive amount, but there were some trades getting stopped out. And we did have some divergences on the low time frames. So yeah, just took a little scalp there. Locked in 30 cents with that one. So yeah, again, not a large win, but it was still some profit in the books. And my account is at $100.30. So I am up a very small amount right now. I am waiting to see if I'm going to get a trade set up here. We are retesting an area of demand after breaking structure. So we know that this was a bullish break right here, and then we had a higher low and a higher high. We broke structure right here, put in a lower high and then a lower low, and we have now come up to break that structure bullishly. So structure right now is in an uptrend, and we are trading in between these two market structure points. And right now we are retesting an area of demand. It was the last little range before we came up to break structure. So I am waiting to see if we're going to get a market structure shift in this area. I have an alert set at this low, so if we come down to put in a lower low and then break structure, I will look for a long there. So we have finally gotten some exciting price action here. It is Tuesday, and this is going to be the wrap up of this video. It's getting very long. I've already edited the rest of it, and it's going to be an over 20-minute video, which I try to keep these videos shorter. Even when I'm doing these types of videos where I record over the course of a few days, I try to edit them down and only keep the most important information in there. But a lot of what this video was just me making plans that never happened, which I feel like is still valuable. I'm still able to show how I would plan for these trades and the type of trades I'm looking for, even when they don't play out. I think that still has value. It's just unfortunate when I can't enter them and I can't show the other half of trading, which is entering and managing your positions. And this past week when I did enter trades, they were, very quick scalp trades that didn't require much managing. I mean, I hit a few TPs on a few trades, but, for the most part, it was very scalpy price action. But now, despite us still being in this internal range in between these two market structure points, we have had a significant development, at least in terms of the internal structure. we have now put in another higher high. So first we broke the internal structure from this high. We broke that bullishly right here. And like I said, once we broke that internal structure bullish, I would think there's a good chance that whatever low, created that break would be the higher low in the, less internal structure. And that was proven to be correct very quickly, because as soon as we broke structure here, we immediately pumped up and put in a higher high in this structure. So now price is sitting up here. I do have a box marked out right here. This is an area of supply, the last area of supply before we, well, no, actually, I was wrong. This is the lower high up here. Yeah, this was too tight to be, really considered market structure on most time frames, even though this is pretty tight as well. But, you can see that there is at least a clearly defined high right here. If my computer will load, then you'll see that high with the arrow I drew. Or maybe my computer's going to crash, I don't know. Okay, so as I was saying, this is a much more clear high than this. This high, we came down, put in a low, and then immediately got this wick up and kind of put in a lower high before continuing structure, but that is too tight to, really call structure confidently. It's very similar to this lower high that we put in right here, where we got a very quick wick up, put in the high like 2 candles maybe after the low. This is not a confident high, and neither is this. This is actually why I'm glad that we came up to put in a more clear high here, potentially a lower high if we come back down to take out the low. That would be better, because this would be a much more clear lower high. But yeah, that being said, we are at one of the last areas of supply before we come up to break structure. I would also consider this little range an area of supply too. So I would be looking for a market structure break bearishly in any of these areas if we get to move up to them. And with this zone, if I kind of zoom in here, on the lower time frames, we did have another wick here and then another slight retracement before we continued dumping. So some people would have extended their supply area over here, and if you did that, it would have already been tagged. But since this zone has yet to been tagged, there is still valid supply above, and price has just gone to move into there. So we're getting some live price action here, and we are pumping up through it, which isn't exactly what I wanted to see. I would have preferred to see this, some sort of distribution into this supply. We could still get it, if we get a quick wick back down and then maybe come up to SFP that high again, we could still get a distribution here, and that would be cause for me to start looking for shorts, because I do think if we start to distribute into supply, there's a higher chance of this being a lower high. So yeah, I would be looking for shorts if we start to distribute. I might trade the third SFP if we get another SFP here, but the smarter play would be to wait for market structure to break, but that would not give as good of a risk reward. So that's pretty much my plan for shorts right now, so long as we don't come up to break this high. I may be looking for shorts in this area of supply up here. And on the higher time frames, since we have continued this bullish internal structure, I may look for a long if we start to retrace and if we get a bullish break in this area of demand, this last little range before we broke structure. So I do have plans for longs and shorts at the moment, although I think I would prefer to look for shorts because, like I said, if we distribute up here, I think there's a better chance we come down for this guy, or at least come down to take out some of the liquidity that is inside of this range. But there is lots of liquidity to the upside too. I have the classic Phoenix curve here with a classic money sign, because this was all lower highs before we got that massive dump. So there's probably still some stop losses up above these highs. And, going even farther, there's probably lots of stop losses up in this area too. So there's really reason to go both directions in terms of liquidity. And yeah, I'm pretty much going to wrap this video up just talking about these plans, and ideally pick this up in the next video with me taking one of these trades. Alright, well, thank you all for watching this video. If you enjoyed, please consider leaving a like and subscribing, and I will see you all in the next one.